With training camp upon us, we are thrilled to be joined by Colts owner Mr. Jim Irsay. You just had the opportunity to address the team ahead of the first practice firsthand here at Grand Park. What was your message to the players ahead of the 2021 season?
Well, it really was exciting, July 27th, to get things started out here in incredible Grand Park. It's so enormous out here, and they've done such a great job setting it up here. And really, it's kind of the present moment about opportunity sitting here on July 27th, and then looking down the road and seeing in Los Angeles where greatness lies at SoFi Stadium in February for the Super Bowl, and all the hurdles we have to jump over and stick together and fight through to get there. And we have great examples with Peyton and Edgerrin James going into the Hall of Fame about how they did it, the price they paid, and so we know as hard as it is, it can be done.
And one of those challenges, certainly again in the 2021 season, is this COVID virus. We know that Coach Reich is going to have to miss several days because although he's vaccinated, he tested positive, he is asymptomatic. With that being the realization now, how much of a reminder is this to your players, the threat that this virus poses?
Well, it's a real reminder, quite frankly, of adversity. And I kind of look at it a little bit more universally because, this being my 50th season, I've seen, everything playing through, Vietnam and all sorts of, chaos and strike seasons and 9/11 and just so many different scenarios that you go through. There's always adversity. There's always difficult situations that test you. This is just another one, and I think it really involves in being focused and trying to take each situation one at a time, thinking about team and how can we overcome this adversity together, so we can come out on top, because there's 31 other teams. If they do it better than us, they're more likely to beat us, and so we know it's a long haul too, because it's July 27th, but we're talking about going through all the way to the end of the year and early January before the playoffs start. So it's another challenging season, that's for sure.
You mentioned the goals that there are for this team this season, and that's something that your players were asked about when they arrived here at Grand Park. And DeForest Buckner was not shy about saying the Super Bowl is a very, very realistic goal for this group. You noted Edgerrin James and Peyton Manning, who you'll get to celebrate in Canton in just a few days, who were part of such a special era, that very dominant decade for this franchise in the 2000s. With what you experienced with those players and the successful seasons that you were a part of, how capable is this team of contending for a championship?
Well, it's interesting. Chris Ballard addressed the team after I did, and he really hit on a key note about competitive NFL football and greatness and becoming a champion. And he talked about, which is so true, you have to have your defining moment when you break through. We had it against the Patriots in the championship game here, down 21-6. It looked like, oh no, here we go again. But no, Tony Dungy led us. We broke through. The rest is history. And we don't know when that moment's going to come. It could come against Seattle in the opener. It could come later in the season against the Titans. It could come again against the Patriots. You don't know at what point in that season, including the playoffs, where you have to break through and really redefine yourself, not just as a good football team, but as a great football team and a championship football team. Because again, there's only one standing of 32. And so it's going to be very interesting, but as Chris Ballard mentioned, which is so true, is we bring in the type of character players, the type of players that we believe in that flashpoint moment of difficulty, of adversity, of really competitive fire, that they're going to be the ones that have the mental toughness to break through. And that's really what it comes down to. If you talk to Navy SEALs and Navy SEAL commanders and even soldiers who couldn't succeed as a Navy SEAL, they all say the same thing. It's mental. I physically I had all this skill and I could do this and do that, but I wasn't able to mentally get to that point and break through, because that is really where the big challenge lies, and that's where Coach Reich does such a great job, and Chris Ballard does, in trying to get our players and our leaders like DeForest Buckner and Quentin Nelson and others to get us ready to get up to that level as a team where we can really have our breakthrough moment this year, hopefully.
How critical are these 3 weeks, those 19 practice opportunities that you have here at Grand Park, in preparing your guys for those challenges that they're going to face and to be ready for those breakthrough moments that they want to have in the 2021 season?
Well, it's so critical. I think that, you talk about climbing to the top of Mount Everest, how tough that is, how not many people get there, many fail trying. And the only way you get there is one step at a time. That's the only way anyone has ever gotten any place that's extremely elite and special. And so that's where we really focus on July 27th and know, okay, for today in this 24-hour period, how can we do everything possible to generate us getting better as a team and keep advancing. And that's very difficult because it's such a long process. So the season's so long and training camp's long, and then the season starts, and a lot of peaks and valleys. So again, I think we have the type of character makeup on this football team that really has a chance to answer that question. And we try to design it that way when we look at the players we're trying to bring in here, because we know how important that is.
I know that you are always focused forward and those goals that you have set forth for your organization, but you noted 50 years in the NFL. When you have an opportunity to reflect upon 5 decades, what do you appreciate about that in your NFL journey?
Well, I just really appreciate that I was able to be around the founders of professional football. You know, at my wedding in 1980, George Halas was there, one of the 7 men in that Humpmobile showroom in 1920, who put a $100 IOU in, who was the only player, owner, coach for the Chicago Bears, obviously the great Papa Bear. And having met others along the way, like Art Rooney Sr. and Wellington Mara, and so many others, Pete Rozelle, Al Davis. So it's really such a blessing to have experienced so much, and still definitely be a young 62, and I feel that way. So want to add a lot more chapters to it and sit here and talk to you about my 75th year eventually someday. But it's just a blessing to have had that sort of experience from ball boy to owner, having played the game at SMU. And I just, I'm just very thankful that I've been given the opportunity to have those experiences.
And we are so thankful, so grateful to you for taking the time to join us. We look forward to having many more of these great conversations over the course of what we know will be a successful 2021 season.
Well, thank you. I mean, first and foremost, I, like Colts Nation, I am a fan. You know, I grew up watching the Chicago Bears before we bought the team in the 60s at old Wrigley Field, Gale Sears, Dick Butkus, and so I mean, I come at it, I always try to keep an 8-year-old's perspective of what, the Cubs meant to me or the Bears meant to me back in the 60s, and it's the love of the game. It's so fun being able to be involved in this game, because we all know as fans, is once that stadium fills up and you go into that 3-hour time zone of experiencing this together, of an NFL football game, it's the endless possibilities of what you go through, as the old commercial for ABC Sports, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You see it all, but that's what life's about, experiencing all. So it's a blessing just to be here and happy to be with you guys and joining you guys, because you guys do such a great job, and our fans love getting the content and love hearing about everything going on behind the scenes. So we really appreciate you guys for what you do.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing so many of you out here at Grand Park for the practices that we have up here in Westfield, and also in the regular season at Lucas Oil Stadium.